I still remember the day my parents told me I was a disappointment. I had just pitched my first startup idea, eyes full of hope, and their words hit harder than I could have imagined. "You'll never make it," they said. "Chasing dreams is for fools." But they didn't know the full story. What I was about to uncover would flip everything on its head. And believe me, it all started with a single idea in my tiny apartment, while my family laughed at me. Hello, welcome back to the channel, and today I want to take you through the moment my family's betrayal almost broke me, and how I turned it into a $50 million revelation that left them speechless. Before we dive in, if you love jaw-dropping family revenge stories, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the full journey. Let me take you back to where it all began. I grew up under the weight of my parents' expectations. Straight A's, polite manners, a career path they approved of. But inside, I had this burning urge to create something on my own, to innovate, to leave a mark. When I finally shared my startup idea, hoping for their support, the room went silent. Then my father scoffed. "This is foolish. You're throwing your future away," he said, shaking his head. My mother didn't speak, but her eyes were sharp with judgment. Weeks later, I moved out, determined to follow my dream, only to receive a call that shattered me. "We can't support you," they said, cold as ice. "You've chosen your path, and we wash our hands of you." It wasn't just a lack of financial support. It was the emotional disowning that stung. My own parents, the people who were supposed to guide me, had abandoned me because I dared to pursue what I loved. At that moment, I realized my dream wasn't just about technology. It was about proving to them that I was worth more than their narrow vision. After being disowned, I threw myself into my work. Every sleepless night, every failed prototype, every rejection from investors, it all became fuel. I wasn't just building a startup. I was quietly gathering the pieces of something far bigger than what anyone could imagine. It started with research. I spent hours studying patents, innovations, and tech gaps that no one else noticed. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. I realized there was a loophole in the market, a hidden opportunity my family would never have seen. The more I dug, the more I understood that the technology one was developing had the potential to be worth tens of millions. I also learned to watch my family from a distance. They boasted to relatives about how my failure had proved them right. They had no idea that I was laying the groundwork for a future that would not just prove them wrong, but leave them completely exposed. Months turned into years. While my parents continued their life of comfortable arrogance, I quietly filed patents, built prototypes, and secured silent partners. Every rejection letter and mocking comment became a stepping stone. I knew I was patient, but this patience wasn't passive. I was preparing for a moment that would flip the script entirely. By the time I finally held the first prototype of my invention, it was more than just a piece of technology. It was my ticket back into a family that had cast me aside. The $50 million potential wasn't just about money. It was about proof. Proof that I was not a failure. Proof that the people who abandoned me had underestimated me in every possible way. Every email I sent to investors, every presentation I gave, was building toward one goal. The day I would reveal the truth, and my parents would have to face the consequences of their betrayal. By the time I had the patent filed and my first prototype working flawlessly, I wasn't just an inventor. I was a force my family had never imagined. But I didn't rush. I knew revenge wasn't about chaos. It was about precision. Every move had to be calculated, every reveal perfectly timed. I began by quietly expanding my network. I reached out to investors who had scoffed at my early pitches, showing them the fully developed product and its market potential. Their hesitation turned into urgency once they realized the scale of what I had created. Meanwhile, I kept my family completely in the dark. They still believed I was struggling, living hand to mouth, just like they always assumed I would. Next, I leveraged partnerships with tech firms, securing licensing deals that would multiply the value of my patent exponentially. Each handshake, each contract, was another silent victory. I wasn't just building wealth. I was constructing undeniable proof of my capability, all while my parents remained smugly confident that I had failed. Even more satisfying was the personal element. I invited one of my childhood mentors, someone who had always encouraged me despite my family's doubts, to help guide me through the final steps. Together, we ensured that when the time came, the reveal would not just shock them, it would dismantle their assumptions entirely. I wasn't acting out of spite. Every strategic decision was rooted in patience, precision, and proof. I wanted them to see, without question, that the child they disowned for dreaming big had become the one holding the ultimate leverage. And then, the moment arrived. After months of careful preparation, I finally had everything in place. My family thought they were still in control of the narrative, but I was about to change everything with a single revelation. The night of the reveal felt almost cinematic. I invited my parents to what I called a family dinner, knowing full well that they expected nothing more than a polite gathering. They were smug, confident, even amused by my presence, certain that their prodigal child had learned humility. I let them linger in their assumptions just a little longer. Then, I casually mentioned my startup, just enough to pique curiosity. Their laughter faded when I pulled out the first documents, letters from investors, contracts, and finally, the patent itself. I watched their expressions change in real time. Shock, disbelief, and then fear. $50 million. My father whispered, unable to fully process the numbers. My mother's hand trembled as she realized that every mocking word they had thrown at me had only fueled the very empire that now stood before them. I explained, calmly, step by step, how I had developed the technology, secured the patent, and turned it into a multi-million-dollar asset. The room grew heavy with tension. Every boast they had made about my failure now sounded hollow, like echoes from a past that no longer existed. Then I delivered the final blow, the part that would shift the power completely. This isn't just about money. It's about the proof that you underestimated me. Every choice you made to disown me, every time you doubted me, it led me here. And now, you have no control. They were silent, faces pale, powerless. The family that had once held all authority over me was now utterly dependent on the one they tried to destroy. And in that moment, I realized revenge wasn't just sweet, it was absolute. The days after the reveal were surreal. My parents avoided eye contact, moving through the house like strangers. I didn't gloat, not overtly. I let the results speak for themselves. The contracts, the investors, the $50 million patent, they were all tangible proof that I had succeeded where they thought I would fail. I spent time reflecting on what had happened. Betrayal cuts deep, but it also teaches lessons that money or success never can. I realized that my revenge wasn't about making them suffer. It was about reclaiming my dignity, proving my worth, and showing that belief in oneself matters more than the approval of those who refuse to see your potential. As for my family, things changed. They approached me cautiously, some with apologies, others with guarded respect. I listened, I acknowledged, but I made one thing clear. The power dynamic had shifted permanently. I was no longer the child who needed their approval. I was the inventor, the entrepreneur, the one who now held the key to a $50 million empire. Life continued, richer in experience and confidence. My startup thrived, and the patent opened doors I hadn't even imagined. More importantly, I discovered that real revenge isn't about destruction. It's about rising above, building yourself so fully that those who doubted you are left staring in awe. And now, if you've ever been doubted or cast aside by the people who should have believed in you, remember this: your patience, your determination, and your vision are more powerful than anyone's betrayal. If you want to see another story where someone rises from family betrayal to unstoppable success, check out my next video. Tell me in the comments, what's the biggest obstacle you've turned into your advantage? And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping family revenge stories. Thank you for watching. And remember, sometimes the sweetest victory is the one that comes quietly, yet undeniably.